We've got your Cleveland Browns news of the day. Thursday, defensive linemen, linebackers work out of the NFL Combine. We're going to talk about all of that. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought through the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You don't want to miss out. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Be like the everydayers. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Obviously, Cleveland Browns on the road, so to speak, in Indianapolis for the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. Your first and major news of the Cleveland Browns today: Denzel Ward, $11.3 million, restructured. That Browns will now get that money and now are into the red of the cap here. So, I'm sorry, to the black, obviously. Cleveland Browns now positive. This is going to continue to play with several other players. Gives the Browns, obviously, as everybody knows, the ability to open up and obviously be players here in free agency. This was always the plan. This was always the intention. All of these people who screamed for months, they're going to be in cap held. Have you seen how it's worked here for 4 years and what the plan is, what the vision is? They're trying to keep the core intact and trying to go out and bring in. It's just what this team is trying to do, and they're trying to put themselves in the best possible chance to succeed. So Denzel Ward obviously still gets his money. Cleveland Browns get some much-needed cap flexibility and kick the can down the street, so to speak. Coach Kevin Srefanski met with the media today at the NFL Combine. First, thing of business, obviously, Coach and Ken Dorsey are going to make a trip out to LA next week, spend some time with Deshaun Watson. Obviously kind of sit down, pick each other's brains, kind of, hey, like this, don't like that. What do you think about this? Basically setting up, Ken Dorsey and, of course, setting up Deshaun Watson together as far as what's going to work. People keep asking about the play calling. My God, that's got to stop. It does. You don't even know who's playing for the Cleveland Browns yet in 2024. So, let alone who's calling the plays. It's just wasted time. There's so many questions that can be answered at these things. If they didn't answer it 3 weeks ago, they didn't answer it they're not going to answer it. When they have an answer, they'll let us know. Is Ken Dorsey going to call plays? I don't know. Is Kevin Srefanski going to call plays? I don't know. But I certainly am not concerned about, on February 28th, asking questions about who's calling plays when the Cleveland Browns are not going to run a play that matters until September. So, it's wasted. It is. It's just wasted time. It's wasted effort. Seeing Coach speak today and speaking about Deuce Staley. And look, you can see from Coach Stefanski's reaction that he is really looking forward to this new offensive coaching staff, the way it's assembled. And it's not a knock on what these guys who were previously here did. This team went to two playoffs, playoffs twice in 4 years. It's a pretty good accomplishment for a franchise that was inept as the Browns were. So it's not that it's about, but they just went as far as they could go together. And that's it. So obviously Coach is excited. He seems like they've got, new blood that he is ready to work with. Coach is going to, recreate himself, reinvent himself, obviously change himself a little bit here. And, with this combine week, it's about finding new talent. And, the Browns obviously, a couple of weeks from now, obviously start bringing in new talent from the free agent class. I love this time of year. Roster building is really, really exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to all of this. So you got to hear Coach today obviously speak about some of the new acquisitions, coach-wise, that have been brought in for the Cleveland Browns. The NFL Players Association released, now obviously they poll every team's players, and they give them a slew of questions. They ask them to be graded, and, then the feedback comes out. Ideally, I mean, I know why the Players Association does this, of course. Should this go out? It's, look, guys know each other well enough. Hey, if you're looking to sign with a certain team, I'm sure you have a friend within the building who plays there. Hey, what do you think about this? How do they take care of you this way? This, that, and the other thing. So is this something that necessarily should go public? I don't know, but obviously it does. Treatment of families, as far as the Cleveland Browns are concerned, players, D-. I mean, this could have to do with a number of factors. Los Angeles Chargers apparently charge their players for daycare. Certainly an interesting way to go, I guess. Browns D-, probably not the best thing in the world. Food cafeteria, C+. I'm sorry, but this is inexcusable. You have world-class athletes working for you. You're paying them a buttload of money. Maybe almost $300 million is what the Browns are actually going to pay players in 2024. Your food and cafeteria should not be related to C+. The food should be exactly what these players need. Exactly. It should be good. It should be nutritious. There should be something for every player. However, and look, athletes have fluky diets. They do. But whatever these players want is what these players should have. Nutritionist, dietitian, obviously C+. That kind of falls in line, of course, with the food. Locker room, D+. These guys don't like where they're at every day. And this is the part that kind of bothers me is, look, not all of these guys are going to $1 million homes at the end of the day. Your rookies, your undrafted free agents, your guys who aren't making much money, they're not going home to $1 million home. So if you could find a way and increase player camaraderie and keep them around and all their work's done for the day, but now they're going to stay and have dinner because the food's good. Maybe they'll watch a little more film. Maybe they'll play some foosball, whatever it is. Find a way to keep your players happy. The things that you do kind of like, training staff, B-. That's not terrible. Obviously, could be better, but being in the B range is good. D, the weight room was a D. Cleveland Browns announced today through Kevin Srefanski they are improving the weight room. So obviously that's something they are looking at. Strength coaches, B+. You can't have strength coaches that players rate as a B+ and you have a weight room that's a D. Stuff that needs to be improved. Team travel is a D. That's not good. That's not good. It means players are not happy about how they're traveling. So something to think about there. Your head coach received a B+, and your ownership received a B. You got to up things up here. And look, Jimmy Haslam, if that means you got to spend some more of your own money, and you are doing it, obviously, as far as paying a lot of the salaries, of course. But look, you got to get the players as happy as possibly can be. Thoughts on a new stadium, of course, and getting that done. I know they've been putting a ton of work into all the facilities in Berea. Look, if you want to be world-class, you want to draw world-class free agents, you got to have top of it. Feed them right. Make the place a place they don't want to leave, and, to grow camaraderie even further. Browns are a tight unit, just simple things, some things tweaked. But food is a non-issue for me. Make sure the food will keep the guys around. And even still, send them home with food. Because you want to know what? A lot of these kids, they're not making a ton of money. They're going home. They're going to DoorDash. It's Taco Bell. It's fast food. Send them home with the good stuff. We're going to continue here. Defensive linemen and linebackers will start the NFL Combine workouts on Thursday. We're going to have some thoughts on that. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Nobody go anywhere. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. If you had more time, if you had another hour in the day, what would you do with it? Me, would I do more content? Would I maybe take some time for myself because I don't seem to have any? It's something to think about. The question is, if you had the time, for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing in your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. For me, it's always a balancing act, getting the kids here and there, obviously, being a husband, making sure I'm looking after my mom. There is a lot going on. And sometimes you just need a check and balance system to make sure you're achieving everything you need to achieve. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockdown today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. we continue on your latest Locked On Browns, and I've told you guys, and I think everybody knows how excited I am for the NFL Combine. One of my favorite events of the entire year. And one day I will make my return to Indy. I will. I was kind of hoping for it maybe this year, but obviously, as the everydayers know, it's been a little bit of tight time around the White household with everything going on. So who knows? Maybe 2025. Defensive linemen are going to take the field tomorrow. Obviously, I'm very, very excited to see Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State. Longtime listeners of Locked On Browns. Pete Smith has been a part of this show forever and a day. His relationship with Michael Hall going all the way back in the day. So we're really excited. Michael Hall should tear up the combine. Currently slated as a mid-second round pick. There was a recent high school coaching conference at Ohio State. They show film. They show that team technique they were working on, this, that, and the other thing. And there were several Michael Hall highlights that they showed to these coaches and just said, "This, nobody teaches this. This is God-given. This is a man right here." And of course, they were talking about Michael Hall. Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, certainly an interesting story. His uncle, Cullen Jenkins, his father, obviously Chris Jenkins Sr. He's not as big as those guys are, but certainly a very, very interesting prospect. One of my favorites in this class, and I don't know how he's going to line up with the Cleveland Browns, Braden Fisk out of Florida State. Braden Fisk, 25 years old. Browns have actually, met with Braden Fisk, and don't take anything into that too much. All teams meet with all players. Okay, so don't get crazy when you hear these types of things. Could mean something. Most likely, it means nothing. One of my other favorite interior line players of the 2024 class, Dwayne Carter at Duke. Duke is an improving program, and Duke is going to put out NFL talent for the years to come. He's got a great first step. He's physical. He can absorb blocking. He can give you a little bit of assistance as a pass rush. Dwayne Carter out of Duke is a fun player. Player probably slated to go probably somewhere either late third round, probably early mid to fourth round. But Dwayne Carter, make no mistake, there's a player there. LSU's got a bunch of defensive tackles in this class. Mason Smith, Makai Wingo. They also have Jordan Jefferson. There's a lot of defensive tackles from LSU in this class. They vary in size. Some are smaller, quicker guys like Michael Hall at 295. The other guys are well north of 300. Certainly a group to watch here. Tyler Davis out of Clemson had a nice career, and maybe if Clemson had been better the last couple of years, there could have been possibly that Tyler Davis was highly regarded in this draft class. But certainly, is a name that I'm hearing should test well. There's two Illinois, obviously defensive tackles, Newton early. Everybody seems to be a darling of his. Keith Randolph is a guy that's definitely going to go day 3, has an NFL body, has an NFL game. Probably will never be a starter, but certainly can be a rotational defensive player for an NFL team down the line. Christian Boyd at Northern Iowa. I've heard a lot of guys, just mention to him. He might put together a nice workout, which might improve his draft stock. Currently sitting in the day 3 area, but certainly somebody that could come on, obviously, and improve his draft stock. Gabe Hall out of Baylor. I've heard a lot of positive things about. I'm not going back to Baylor. I have been burned by Baylor prospects for years. Going back to Lacey Strunk, Bryce Petty, all these guys. Baylor prospects have burned me numerous times. And hopefully Siaki Ika will be the last Baylor prospect I hype up until one of these Baylor prospects does do something. But I'm still holding out hope for you, Mr. Ika. Edge rushers. Now, there's a fun class. Now, there's a bunch of guys Browns are never going to sniff. Obviously, Dallas Turner, Latu out of UCLA, Jared Verse out of Florida State, Chop Robinson, who is going to blow it up tomorrow. If you want to do maybe any combine prop bets, I would look at a Chop Robinson from Penn State. He is going to destroy the workouts. Darius Robinson from Missouri, interesting player, big defensive end, probably nowhere near where the Browns are going to draft. I'm not even sure, though, if he's true 4-3 or he might be the 3-4 defensive end that plays in that odd front. He's a really big kid. Isaac from Penn State is another. Look, Penn State is always loaded with athletes. They just never do anything with it. This is a team that should probably have won Big Ten titles over the last couple of years. They could just never put it together. But Adisa Isaac is a good player too. Braswell out of Alabama, another interesting player. That's a player that could start to end up if the Browns want to do this in round 2, could be a player there. Braylon Trice from Washington is a guy I've always liked. I liked his tape at Washington. He would need to improve as a run defender. There's a lot of missed tackles, a lot of times where he's not necessarily taking, setting the edge, or he's getting sucked inside. Braylon Trice has got game, but he's got to have to work on, some of the simpler aspects of his game. But yet another guy that you probably should have your eyes on. Austin Booker from Kansas, up to about 245. Maybe he's not an ideal pick for the Browns. They already have the one maybe slightly underside as far as their, preference for the position is, and that is obviously Agbo and Okoronkwo. But Austin Booker might be a team that, another guy that fits 3-4 teams of interest. Really athletic. He's down at 245. He's supposed to run in the 4.5s. Suddenly, keep your eyes out. Guy from Kansas. So my guy John Costco, I'm sure, is very, very, very excited. Jonah Ellis, another type of guy that probably fits into that 3-4 stand-up edge. He's a really, really smart, savvy, polished pass rusher out of Utah. Utah puts out talent. They do. But Ellis, again, this is a guy that probably is not going to fit in a traditional 4-3 defensive end role, but he can get after the quarterback. He can make some plays. Jamon Solomon is another one that fits with that one. One that is sneaky for me, and I think is a sneaky get for the Browns, Marshawn Nealand out of Western Michigan. The size, the weight, the length, all of this should match up for what the Cleveland Browns like. Similar to what Alex Wright did when Alex Wright was at UAB. Western Michigan used him on the inside. They used him on the outside. They try to maximize matchups. They tried to maximize the fact that Breland would do what he was coached up to do. If you're rushing in the interior, you're getting stood up, you get your hands up, all of those things. Marshawn Leland is an interesting guy. If the Browns sign a DN in free agency, I'm not sure the Browns are going to draft one. Do I think they're going to sign one? I do. So, we're talking about guys that may not end up on the Browns, but we don't know just yet, obviously. So we're going to keep our eyes on these guys. Xavier Thomas had a really nice career at his time down at Clemson. Again, another guy that may be a little bit more heralded, if not, had the team continue the success that they had been on the last couple of years. So it's not a great edge class. It is not an edge class that you are going to write home about. So, don't let that confuse you by any means whatsoever. So that's something to think about. It's something to look at. But it's going to be a fun group that takes the field tomorrow as far as defensive linemen. I think the Browns most likely are going to draft an interior defensive lineman before they draft, a pass rusher. You keep in mind you have Miles, you have Ogbo, you have Alex Wright. You also have Isaiah McGuire going in a year 2. I think a veteran's going to be brought in. So if you're going to watch intently, my eyes would probably be on the interior players. I'm not so sure the Browns are going to be in the pass rusher market for the 2024 class. Again, it's not a great class, which usually you shy away from that if you're a team, because, hey, if it's a smaller number, I don't have the power picks, I'll play the hand that I can play. So obviously the Browns are not chasing the top pass rushers in this class. You're looking more at day 2, day 3 picks, and that may not be something that the Browns totally are enamored with. Maybe they can get better value through free agency. We're going to continue on here. Your latest Locked On Browns. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate you all for being here. Nobody go anywhere. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sports book partner of the NBA. Closing out your latest Locked On Browns, I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate you all who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is an exclusive crowd, but you don't need no benefits. You don't need a hookup. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. You're in. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcast. Obviously, we've talked about Kevin Srefanski meeting with the media. We talked about the Browns report card. We just talked some defensive linemen that are going to work out tomorrow in Indianapolis. And in the third group, we are also going to get the 2024 linebacker class in this year's draft. Now, Mary Kay put out the other day the Browns would like to bring back, obviously, Sione Takitaki, question is going to be is if somebody else gets to him first and kind of makes an offer that, Sione cannot refuse. We'll see the way it plays out. I think he and JOK are a nice combination. I really, really do. The Browns they haven't paid a linebacker yet, guys. So the question's going to be, with most likely an impending contract extension to JOK, are they also going to leave some money there to accommodate Taki? We'll see. I got no problem with it. I think Taki's growth as a player has been absolutely fantastic for this team, but I'm not sure I necessarily see it. Edgerrin Cooper, and it's always difficult with a positional group in the draft when you don't basically have a consensus number one. And that's something that certainly causes you to have some pause and hesitation about how good the group is. Edgerrin Cooper, Texas A&M, is one that a lot of guys like. Physical. He's got athleticism, and we'll see more of that tomorrow, obviously, in drills. So, he'd probably be too rich for the Browns anyway, but certainly someone there. Cedric Gray can go. Cedric Gray can hit. He's one of the guys in this class that I truly like. A little bit bigger than JOK. Can maybe play that true Mike. So somebody to watch. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and we talked about this with Pete Smith the other night. When you are the son of a guy who is a prominent NFL player, and you finished your college career, you are going through the draft process. When I put on the tape, I want to know who that guy is right away. I don't want you don't need to tell me his number. I want to watch the film, and I would say, yeah, and for Jeremiah Trotter Jr., yes. Simpson last year was drafted, obviously, the Baltimore Ravens, out of Clemson as well. And didn't play much, but he'll probably replace Patrick Queen this year. But for me, I think Jeremiah Trotter is probably the more full put together package. Are the Browns interested? We'll see. Peyton Wilson at NC State. Film's great. Absolutely. The film is great. Too old and a lot of time injured. No, thank you. Junior Colson. Junior Colson is a very, very popular guy out of Michigan. My buddy Connor Rogers is his number one linebacker in this class. Bigger guy, physical guy. May not have the agility that some of these other guys do, but I think I would be okay with that. Talking about the Browns with JOK, the way this defense is, it might be something I could let it go if I were to have to pair him. So maybe you think maybe Taki or better for Junior Colson. If that's the case, it's a nice pairing if you can't get it done, obviously, with number 44. Curtis Jacobs out of Penn State, similar to JOK, athletic, moves well, makes a lot of plays. Again, Penn State athletes, every time I say it, right? Penn State athletes. Tommy Eichenberg, obviously, with hosting a Cleveland Browns podcast, there is obviously a lot of Ohio State fans. Age and, tape. Tommy Eichenberg was a nice college linebacker at Ohio State. I'm not exactly sure how it translates to the NFL. Jalen Ford out of Texas is another one I like. It makes a ton of plays. And we talked about him with Pete Smith the other night. Had a great benefit at Texas of playing behind absolute beasts at defensive tackle position. Ideally, that is supposed to be the plan when you get to the NFL, is you play with good defensive tackles, and hopefully you get kept clean, like we saw Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in 2023. And you got to see that athleticism, and as JOK's overall intelligence improved, you got to see him have that ability to be that ultimate difference maker. That is something that you certainly saw from Jalen Ford at Texas last year, playing behind a great defensive line and just saying, there it is, I see it, and I'm going to make the play. Jalen Ford certainly played that way. Marist Lafau, I've heard it pronounced a couple different times, out of Notre Dame. He's a hitter. He is a hitter. He's going to miss some tackles. He's going to overrun some plays. But Marist makes some hits. This guy plays the position like his hair is on fire. It's going to take some discipline, obviously. If he tests well, there's going to be teams that are just going to say, we got to move up the board, because the tape really, really is good. The athleticism is there. And then, hey, working on the discipline, working on the understanding of the defense, that then goes on to the coaching staff. So he's a guy that certainly is going to interest, obviously, a lot of people into those regards. Tomorrow, we will bring you 2 more episodes. You will get your full 30-minute. We'll do, bonus episodes between, over the weekend, as far as each positional group. standouts from workouts. So we got a lot of content coming. I told you guys this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I'm not going to disappoint you on that. I'm going to get you guys a ton coming out here. So we've got to Coach Srefanski met with the media today. I'm very excited about his new assistant coaches on the offensive side of the ball, a chance for him to rebrand himself. Of course, the Browns report card, of course, and some things good. And I think the things that were good were good. Coach, obviously, of course, the ownership taking care of their players. It's time for some money to be spent and have some improvements to take care of these players, cafeteria, weight room, et cetera, et cetera. Denzel Ward, $11.3 million converted. So that automatically just opens up the cap space for the Cleveland Browns. Defensive linemen, the linebackers will work out tomorrow in Indy, kicking off the workout portion of the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. Yeah, guys, I'm geeked and I'm excited. Now, everybody, I appreciate you all who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. It is an honor to host this show. I am so proud to be a part of this network. I am so thankful for what this network has done for myself and so many others. Locked On, thank you. David Locke, thank you. Ross Jackson, our program director, our channel director, rather. You were the man, the ambassador of Quan, bro, and I don't lie about that. This has been your daily delivery of all things dog pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.